I remember when everything was like this tall, and I was like, "This is cool," but now I'm like, "This is cool."
Yeah.
Different kind of cool.
Yeah. So we'll walk down and we'll just kind of see. We'll go slow so you can see that there's passion fruit dripping from the tree. There's more papaya under here. These are starting to set fruit. This was just planted a couple, maybe 3 months ago. But this was the very first
3 months.
Syntropic row that.
3 months old bananas.
Yeah. Yeah. They grow fast. But this was the first Syntropic row that I installed ever. And at the beginning, it looked like just a single row in the middle of grass. It was like very little and nothing. And the first year it was full of annual vegetables. So we were harvesting tomatoes out of here, a lot of corn, squash, beans, because there was still enough sunlight. And that early succession stuff were those vegetables. That was the placenta, like the first stage of that succession, right? And now you kind of look around and it's like a lot more developed than that. We're starting to see papayas and tamarillos and mulberries, and we've been harvesting raspberries heaps out of here. And there's a whole succession underneath that you can see, right? The long-term stuff, the medium-term stuff, the things are starting to stratify. And this is just over 2 years, 2 years and a couple months from like nothing, just grass.
And the whole row right down through.
Yeah, actually, sorry, I stand corrected. There was those existing avocados that I was talking about that were like really small. They were struggling. They were being overtaken by kikuyu. The ones that the previous owner had planted and just kind of left for like, you know, didn't manage them, didn't being overtaken. They were like about to die. That's why I started here. There was available space and there were some avocado trees to save.
Yeah, right.
So those avocado trees that were really tiny and struggling have since become, in just 2 years, like from this big, really struggling, to incredibly healthy, fruiting, and just you wouldn't tell that they were ever like on the verge of death.
Like disease
Struggling in terms of like there was so much grass pressure. They were the yellow leaves. There was like 4 leaves on them. The bark was like splitting because of the sun.
Okay.
Right. The grass was like climbing up all over them.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean by struggling. So you plant an ecosystem around them, and man, they just take off.
Which would be more like the environment they come from.
Exactly, yeah. Which is why, and I'm planting avocado seeds in here, and you can actually see one right there. The environment that they grow up in are these dappled conditions where it's really like moist and dark under there, and they emerge from that. So this is planted just by seed 2 years ago, and it's terribly healthy.
Did you propagate the seeds and water or anything like that? You just put the
Push
seeds
that
straight
thing in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a child, right? If you raise a child in a certain environment, and then when they're 2 years old, you put them in a new environment, they're not going to be as adjusted, right? Whereas if you just plant it from seed, the root has no disturbance. It's just going to, that's its context, that's where it's going to live forever, right? Which is why I'm a bigger advocate of planting things from seed. Even when you're like growing them in a pot, and then you put, like, I'd still rather grow it directly
straight down,
Yeah.
Right. But there's advantages to growing stuff in the pots first and hardening them off and then putting them in.
There can be.
You can get some fast growth. But this way here, you can like get them to be established in their environment and strong and hardy.
Yeah.
What's this? Red leaf papaya.
That's an oak leaf papaya.
Oh, oak leaf.
Yeah. Hasn't, actually, it's started to flower.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
What I'll do is I'll actually bring you guys back to this first few meters, and we'll just run through so you can see like the density of species just in the first couple meters. So we've got actually I'll point this out, there's 2 different kinds of eucalypts, right? There's symphomerts and monocalypts. Basically one is really fast growing, not fantastic for like timber use. The other is a lot slower growing and better for timber. So this is a monocalypt, slower growing, better for timber. The other ones are way faster growing, right? A little bit softer wood. That's what I'm preferencing for these agroforestry systems, because I'm just focusing on biomass production. So this isn't producing as much biomass because it's growing slower. Right? It was just an experiment.
And because it's going slower, the wood's denser. But you're not in it for the wood. You're not growing that to mill that in 15 years' time.
No. I'll use those for posts for sure. Once they're big enough, but the focus is on biomass. So that's why this one, if you were wondering why this eucalyptus is smaller than the rest, that's why. So we've got a eucalypt right here. We've got a mulberry. We've got a tamarillo right here. There's cherimoya, macadamia, Szechuan pepper. There's some yacon. There's a small little banana, which I might just move. There's an ice cream bean, another cherimoya, dwarf cardamom, smells like cinnamon. Maybe one of those.
Wow.
More cherimoya, the papaya, raspberries, the avocado. And I just broke a branch off. There's sugarcane, banana, a fig, more raspberries, more ice cream beans, macadamias. So that's just in like 3.5, 4 meters. That level of density,
Yeah.
right? That many species. And you notice there weren't too many repeats other than like the raspberries and the cherimoya seed. Because it's so diverse is what allows this to work. Whereas if it was 12 citrus,
Yes.
they were all the same.
Yeah.
They'd have the same life cycle.
Yeah.
They'd have the same root zone competition.
They'd start
Yeah.
competing.
They'd have the same canopy layers that they want, the same level of sunlight. They'd be competing. Whereas because it's so diverse, everything kind of occupies its own ecological niche.
Yeah. Which is represented
That's so
underneath
cool.
the ground as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. The cool thing is that these aren't really, maybe there's a degree of competition, but it's definitely not like severe enough that they're not going to be productive trees, right? Maybe we'll get 20% less crop on something because there's other things around. I'll take that 20% crop reduction in favor of having diversity and more overall produce.
And you can imagine in 5 years' time how these are going to be just completely, there'll be this archway through here.
I mean, it already feels like that to me,
yeah,
because
no, that's
I
right.
remember when everything was like this tall and I was like,
Yeah.
this is cool, but now I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Different kind of cool.
Yeah, so we'll walk down and we'll just kind of see, we'll go slow so you can see that there's passion fruit dripping from the tree.
Yeah.
There's more papaya under here, these are starting to set fruit. And these were just planted last year, they weren't here originally. So some things I have been adding in. On this side there's monstera, which is an edible, there's a lot of taro,
The monstera is an edible.
yeah, they have an edible flower. It's like a green,
Is that called fruit salad?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
There's tropical guava in here. There's more acacia. There's paulownia. This is a support tree. We've got bananas.
Of course you do.
Amarillo.
Yeah, more acacia.
Those the bananas that you gave us a couple of weeks ago.
Yes,
The dwarf Cavendish and
the
the
goldfinger.
Goldfinger.
Yes.
When we planted those, it was just right before those massive storms,
How'd they do?
and they got like hammered and they lost all their leaves, and now they just both of them got new leaves coming.
Beautiful.
It's like, oh yeah, because I was worried there was a couple of weeks where I was just going, oh, they slammed too much, but now the leaves are just going.
Beautiful. And eventually they'll turn into big monsters like these. So you can see all the same patterns really. We've got really happy citrus in here, happier than any citrus that we're planted outside of there.
But and even though there is no nitrogen,
That's not even nitrogen fixing. That's a eucalyptus.